Right, as I say, what I want to talk about is IT systems you need in the context of industry, smart manufacturing and Industry 4.0. So in kind of preparing this, I was kind of making the assumption that I'm sure you're sick to death of hearing about Industry 4.0 at this stage. If you're not, there's loads of people out there who will talk to you all day about it. But I'm making the assumption that nobody here is going to kind of go in and whip out all the manufacturing equipment and replace it all with 3D printers and fully automated. That's not an option. So really, you're going to kind of evolve towards Industry 4.0, and in the context of that, your systems also need to kind of evolve towards that, and need to be a catalyst for that. So that's where I'm coming from. And really, so what I'm talking about too is in terms of your IT systems, is kind of keeping all your doors open for whatever future manufacturing technology, for whatever future levels of integration and automation you might have down the road. Now, do I know what this was? Yes, tell you a bit about myself. Tom Murphy is my name. Worked for the man for many years, large multinational corporations. At one point I was headed up IT, manufacturing IT for the medical device division of a very, very large corporation worldwide, from China to California. But that all changed a few years ago when all my kids grew up and all got jobs, and so now I'm out as an independent IT consultant, because trust me, the other job sounds good, but it's a lot more, life is a lot more interesting now doing things. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, is I'm an IT consultant, specialising in manufacturing IT. So typically, manufacturing plant, looking at your needs. These are the things the manufacturing plant needs. In the offices, it needs to plan, optimize work orders. It needs to create those work orders, and it needs to make sure that it's getting the right raw materials at the right time, and it has its finished goods in hand. That it's not, that it knows where they all are, and it knows what the inventory levels. I should apologise. A lot of what I'm going to hear, because it's a big topic, is very summarised and very high level, because it needs to be but the kind of principles are somewhat the same anyway. So typically, in your typical manufacturing environment, you've got some kind of an ERP system. It might be a low-end one, maybe running on a server above in the room, or it might be a big SAP or something like that. But typically, you're going to have something managing your inventory and all that. If you're not, then you're not talking 4.0 anyway. Typically, the planning. You might have some fancy system, but typically it's a handyman with Excel, and I see a few people nodding, so you can relate to it. It's kind of a handy person. They've done some voodoo with the Excel, and they've done some pages, and basically they come up with the work orders based on demand that are optimized for the manufacturing floor, that you're not doing loads of setups and teardowns and what have you. At the machine end, you're looking at kind of setup and control systems. Typically that's going to be a machine panel in a kind of a non-integrated environment, or maybe you might have a SCADA system where you're kind of linking all your systems together and have a full SCADA system. But typically, so I'm coming in front of you, typically you're going to have some kind of panels or whatever like that working them. And on the shop floor itself, the typical needs you have are to track Kanbans on the floor, or certainly track your work orders or batches or lots, depending on what industry you're in, through the production floor, where they're at, how many have got in progress. You probably have to record measurements. Maybe you're doing some kind of testing that you need to record that you've done it, and what the values were. You're probably typically doing them. Maintenance and calibration. You just had Roy telling you about the CMMS system. Maintenance and calibration. And then also, you're doing probably something around downtime and yield analysis. What you might be doing is a lot of that on whiteboards or on Excel or on paper. You might be doing a lot of that in that space. Typically, people might use whiteboards because it's immediate out there, but then there's something in the evening, typing it all into Excel so we're not losing track of it and we're recording it, and then maybe we're charting our downtime over time, thanks to that. You may not be. Hopefully you're maybe using systems. If you are talking about moving into kind of a space of a manufacturing 4.0, you're going to need some systems in these spaces. So typically you've got your finite planning tool instead of in person with your Excel. Finite planning tools are things that will take that demand and they'll optimize it so that your work orders are fed to the floor in a way that doesn't involve the least amount of setups, the least amount of waste, the least amount of what's the word, churn on the shop floor, and it isn't this kind of voodoo with the Excel going on. And in the production floor, you've typically got systems like your MES system, maybe LIMS for recording data, that your test data and stuff like that. Your CMMS that Roy was just talking about, for your maintenance and calibration planning. and then maybe OE for your yield analysis and your downtime analysis. These are your typical systems. Now you might call these something different. If you're in the pharmaceutical business, that middle button, if you're in the pharmaceutical, if you're in the pharmaceutical business, your MES might be your electronic batch record system. If you're in the medical device area, which is some of my background, that might be your DHR system or your electronic DHR system. But basically it's a system for doing recording, and that, as a generic name, is your MES system. So these are the typical systems you're going to need. Now, I do have a disclaimer here. You might be looking up at me and saying, yeah, but what about? I do CNC and I need to distribute that CNC through a DNC system. Where's DNC up here? Well, it isn't here. Where's my drawing control or my procedure control system? That's critical to me. You might have other needs beyond these. Again, I'm kind of summarising here because of time and because of the pressures and stuff. But typically, these are your business, but you might have tooling is another one people typically have. They might have a huge interest in tooling and want to track that and track the waste and stuff involved there. So you might have other systems doing that. So this is just one representation of what kind of systems you will need in your typical manufacturing plant as you move in towards 4.0. So what I want to do now is just look at these systems and talk about the kind of capabilities that are needed in those systems in the context of industry, I call it manufacturing, industry 4.0 or smart manufacturing. Again, you may not need all of these, you may not be ready to go there. I'm really saying that if you're moving there, maybe you're implementing an MES system, for instance, someday down the road you don't want to close the door to manufacturing or industry 4.0. These are some of the capabilities you might want to keep in your MES system. And these are not capabilities you might need today, but these are capabilities beyond. These, I'm not going to cover here the capabilities you should need in an MES system anyway. I'm not going to cover here what you should have in your CMMS system anyway. You need to talk to Rye or something for that, or talk to me indeed, but this is outside the scope of this. These are the additional requirements. First thing you need, Industry 4.0, is integration. These cannot be islands, they have to be all integrated, so that when a work order, when a demand comes into your ERP system, it produces a manufacturing work order. That work order travels to the shop floor and indeed right down to the machine and into the machine with the setup and with the recipe that's needed to make that product. And by recipe I mean setup, timings, temperatures, ingredients, everything that machine needs. It cannot be manual if we're talking industry 4.0. It has to be all integrated right from the work order, right from the demand, right from the sales order, right through, so that it's popping onto the manufacturing floor, and here's everything you need. You're avoiding waste, you're avoiding human error, and you're getting rapid turnaround. Rapid turnaround is another critical thing, because you can't afford the times of setup and tear down that you have in our old way of working, in the industry 4.0 way, because you're now doing much smaller work orders, you're doing much smaller batches to be more responsive to the market and stuff. So the first thing you need is integration. Then I can say on the machine layer, you're looking at recipe driven and rapid changeover and capable of tracking parts down to the individual part. You may not need this. Your industry may be making bottle caps, and maybe that's not what you need. But for a lot of industries, that's what you're doing, because you're looking to say, right, I'm making these work orders. This one is going to be blue, but the next one, 10 seconds later, is going to be red, and I want to be able to track that down a different route, or whatever it is, whatever way you're working. Or you might be customizing it for a particular customer with their name on it, or their logo on it, or whatever it is. And again, you want to route and don't want it, you dare mix them up like. So again, you may not need these, but this is just in terms of Industry 4.0. If you're putting these systems in, you should be considering these kind of capabilities in there as well. Shop floor, which is really my area. Again, in the context of Industry 4.0, you're looking to be able to produce very small batches. Often when people put in these systems, MES systems up, they customize them so they do exactly what they want today. But exactly what you want today may not be when you're suddenly bringing 3D printing instead of milling the thing out of a piece of metal or whatever it is. So your systems should be capable of doing these kind of things now, so that they're ready and an enabler and indeed a catalyst for Industry 4.0. So minimum user interactions, key presses. Again, quite often people put in systems and they're kind of based on what they're doing today. and therefore you end up with a lot of interactions. The least interaction, the less human error, the less speed, the less lack of speed, the greater speed in terms of changes and movement down through the floor. So trying to minimize the interactions with the systems. Parameter driven, not hard coded. So you're taking your stuff, maybe, did I say PLM? Don't mention PLM? No, don't mention PLM. You're taking your data possibly from a PLM system. I won't go and explain that, but certainly again you're driving it from a parameter-driven environment, so it's not down to the guy's personal knowledge down below who knows how to make this and he's off on holidays in our projects. It's down to kind of being driven because we're making this thing, we're making a work order of this size, therefore these are the parameters, these are the temperatures, these are the whatever that we should be doing. Get a nod from the back of the floor there. And another aspect in down just bottom is sub-assembly capable. Again, a lot of times I see people putting in systems and they don't make sub-assembly say. They're making a product from start to finish, so they don't build in the fact that what they're making now might become a raw material for the next manufacturing process. But typically in your industry 4.0, you're making something that then you can be sub-add to it and change and customize it into a more customized product for the customer. These are capabilities you should be building into your system now, because later on you may need them. You may not need them now, but you may need them later on. And they're as easy to put in now as not have. And on the ERP side, automatic work order generation, optimized work order creation. So again, it's not just someone's knowledge that's deciding that actually if I run product X after product Y, it's better for the plant. It's all built into systems, and therefore your work orders are coming through into the system. Again, I'm talking the ideal here. I'm up at Industry 4.0, so you're not necessarily going to do all of this, but and 100% efficient Kanbans. Again, if somebody's out there waiting for a part, they are not lean, they're not, and therefore they're slow. So again, the Kanbans and your systems of inventory management out in the shop floor, including your WIP, can all be automated and can all be streamlined and sleek, and you're looking to build that in. In conclusion, so again, I think for most of us, replacing everything and moving to 4.0 is never going to happen. It's really going to be an evolution that we move there. Whoops, I'm doing something stupid. All right. Come on. Sorry, guys. In conclusion, let's go there. In conclusion, your systems need to be integrated. They need to be talking to each other. They need to be optimized for work orders that are very small, very big, very small. You must be doing them in a way that is not necessarily just what you need for today. And you should be looking for rapid changeover between work orders. So reducing your setup times, reducing your teardown times. And then the last bit I had up there was just, you should demand a lot of your IT systems now, to learn that stuff about your floor, to learn how long is it taking you to do setups, to learn how much yield are we losing. You should be demanding that of your IT systems now and gathering that data so that you're optimizing your manufacturing now for the fact, well, like how long does it take us to tear down? How long does it take us? How much are we losing to damages on that packaging line down there? If you're not getting that from your IT systems today, that's what you should be demanding so that you're setting yourself up as a catalyst for Industry 4.0.